You are listening to the Business Leadership Podcast with Edwin Frondozo.
We want people who are doing business to have the confidence that they're getting the right insurance at the best possible price. Across North America, we're the only one doing it on both sides of the border.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, biz leaders. Welcome to another episode of the Business Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Edwin Frondozo, and today we're featuring a special episode from our Future Narrator miniseries, which was recorded live at the Collision Conference in Toronto. In this series, we explore the future of leadership, innovation, and storytelling with visionary leaders who are not just designing products, but are creating entire new worlds and markets. Joining me today is Dr. Paul Newton, and together we'll be speaking with Scott Boston, the CFO of Fox Quilt, a company that leverages technology to transform insurance provisioning for small businesses with high-tech, low-touch underwriting services. Fox Quilt caters specifically to small and home-based businesses such as e-commerce sellers and home service professionals. In our conversation, Scott will discuss how Fox Quilt simplifies the insurance acquisition process through their online platform, eliminating the need for traditional brokers and making customized policies easily accessible 24/7. We'll explore how the company uses machine learning to continuously improve and tailor their services and their unique positioning in the market with the embedded insurance model. Scott will also share Fox Quilt's ambitions to expand across North America and beyond, while highlighting the challenges scaling in the Canadian market and the importance of staying mission-focused. So without further ado, here we go. We're now speaking with Scott Boston, CFO of Fox Quilt. Scott, how are you doing today?
I'm really well, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Super excited to have you. Jumping in, Scott, I'd love it if you could share the problem that Fox Quilt is solving for underwriting services.
Well, Foxquilt, we leverage technology to change the insurance world so that every small business can get the insurance that they need no matter where they are or when they need it. And so it's a very high-tech, low-touch underwriting process that allows us to deal with small businesses that might not otherwise have a chance to get insurance that really fits their needs.
And when we're talking about insurance, is this everything from business insurance, operating, personal?
Our sweet spot is for small business insurance, general liability. We have the ability to write any kind of business insurance. Our core customer, we have a couple of profiles that we have. One is someone who's selling on an e-commerce site like an Amazon or Best Buy. The other is sort of a home services professional. Think like an electrician, a plumber, a drywaller, a handyman or a handy person that is doing something around your house with a truck and maybe a crew or installing something.
And when it comes to, I guess, servicing the small businesses and these folks, typically, how are they getting in? Like, how do they get this insurance? And how does it, working with Fox Quilt really make it easier?
Well, that's the key is it used to be that they would have to, like anyone, go to a broker, maybe could get a quote online, but they're going to have to call someone, talk to someone, maybe go into their office to get a quote. That quote's going to take them maybe up to a day. The broker's then going to find options in the market, come back with pricing, and there's very little transparency in that. Foxquilt online platform is completely different where the contractor can access it 24/7. They can put in all their information in a very specific field that define them as an actual professional. And the big thing is rather than getting rated on the most risky profession that they do or lumping them all into one kind of profession, we are able to rate them very specifically on a multi-ISO basis, we call it, where you're getting them at the percentage of revenue or the percent of activity that they're doing. So they're getting a very fit for purpose insurance policy, and they're getting everything they need and nothing they don't.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's really based in terms of where they are as a business owner, and I'm assuming it has the coverage that any other general liability insurance would cover as well, but the pricing would be very specific to them and customized to them.
Yeah, that's right. We have underwriting authority as an MGA with our reinsurance capacity, which is Greenlight and Markel. But we can also then access any other carrier, any other market for insurance if the product doesn't fit right in that box that we offer. So again, we're there to solve the customer's problem. We don't want to say no to them because they don't exactly fit into this box. We try to be creative and solve the problem the best way we can for them.
And it sounds a lot different in terms of for those who are looking for the insurance and they're professionals or they're contractors, they're filling this out in the middle of the night, for example. The experience is that they'll be able to know where they stand before they're complete with that first interaction with Foxquilt.
Exactly. It's very much kind of a self-assessment with their business, if you want to think of it that way. But they know their business better than anyone else, right? So, and we know through our many ratings, tables, and experience with people like them, we know what questions to ask. And our machine continues to learn and ask new questions and more specific questions and better questions with every application that comes in. Even if we don't write for the customer, we learn something if we can't write them a policy too, right? So we're able to continue to build on that and get better and better for our customer.
What's interesting is you mentioned machine learning. So how does machine learning really help or revolutionize the offering within Foxquilt or even in the insurance industry? Because I imagine this is something that the end users, the clients may or may not even know is happening.
Right. And for us, we want it to be as simple and as easy for them as possible, which we've been able to give them that to our platform. But the back end has been designed from the ground up, all in-house, all the IP is our own. And our team of engineers has built a platform that like I said, every time it gets a new data point, it can aggregate them and it can use them to inform what the next application might look like. We had a kind of an internal study that we did a few months ago where 5,000 policies that we had written, and we found like 500 overlapping policies where the criteria were exactly the same. So it gives you a sense of how differentiated all these small businesses are. So it's really important that we're able to get so specific on them to give them exactly what they need. And again, every time we do that, we get more and more policy data. Think about in a legacy insurance business, a broker's just kind of using this off the top of their head. They've maybe been in the business for a long time, maybe not as long. So they're trying to remember what they did last year or for a different business some other time. Is that really very accurate in terms of getting that customer exactly what they need? No, of course not. And the carriers, they don't deal in a lot of specific data around this. So they're not necessarily looking at the data in depth to understand what the actuarial science behind it is. Our machine does all that, again, every single transaction.
Yeah, it almost seems like it's, for a lack of a better word, like a no-brainer in terms of really offering people what they need. Because I imagine even from my own experiences in the past working with insurance brokers, it's, like you said, it's, they're working from their experience, and whether they know me personally or not, to get to that type of detail, you really have to ask me a lot of questions, and hopefully you understand which way to go with that when you answer those questions.
Putting it in kind of real terms, a lot of those policies that you get, remember the broker's trying to make money too, right? And they have a commission based on what they sell. So in a lot of cases, you're going to see them, try to add in a few other coverages that's going to make them more money. It's also going to get carriers' attention in terms of rating the best policy. They may or may not want to take on another policy for a smaller dollar value. So a lot of our customers would be something like a $5,000 policy if they went into a broker. When they come to us, they're dealing in more like a $2,000 policy. And again, sacrificing margin, we're actually getting better margin than the broker does, but we're just selling them what they need and not what they don't. Like they don't need a property policy. They might not need an auto policy. They just need their general liability, but if they do need it, then we can bring those things together seamlessly for them.
It's really interesting because a platform like Foxquilt, it really seems to me your biggest competitors are maybe the brokers. And do you see opportunities to partner or leverage the brokers as well and collaborate with them?
That's a great question you asked, because it's exactly how we do this. Anyone can just go to foxquilt.com and create an application, and in 10 minutes, you can get a quote, you can bind that policy, and then you can complete the payment all online. So, we do have customers that find us that way, both in Canada and in the United States. But what our main sort of go-to-market channels are is what we call on the one side wholesale, where exactly what you just said, the brokers can actually use for our insurance and make it really easy for them to bind a policy for their customer. And that customer may have even found us online first, and then they still just want to have that human touch in some cases. The other really exciting way that we go to market is by partnering with enterprise, as we call them. So embedded enterprise. And this is a true embedded thing with, think about a Home Depot or a Lowe's. These installers that they have in their network, when they get onboarded by the bigger enterprise, the enterprise has insurance requirements. They want the contractor, they want to know that the contractor is protected because it protects their, multi-billion-dollar brand. And they need to know that. So when Foxquilt comes in and partners with them, we make it really easy, obviously, for that customer, that service provider to get their insurance in the first place. But then we have the data right there, and it's all very integrated so that we can inform the enterprise partner that their network is covered and that their network can go to work and do the things that serve the customers that they're serving. And so, so it's kind of a win for the enterprise. It's a win for that end customer. And then again, it's a win for the insurance market in general, because they're getting connected to customers that they might not have had access to previously because they're just too small of a ticket size to really want to find that small customer, that small business provider.
And I'm just thinking that could have also, for the insurance industry, that may have been a gap because, as you mentioned, people may not be looking or have a go-to-market strategy to hit them. And on the flip side, these small contractors, they're probably just afraid to how much an insurance policy looks like. So they don't even call anyone, but whenever they need something or from the enterprise, they get a little educated in the sense like, oh, by the way, you do need insurance and this is the cost. And, they're getting educated at the same time and realizing that, oh, it wasn't that bad either. I imagine that that's sort of another, I'm sure you guys thought about this in terms of benefit and ideal distribution.
Yeah, and it's a great, it points to a story that we hear often, which is, so-and-so was in his or her truck at the job site at the person's home that they were going to install flooring in or do some drywalling. And they realize that they can't go to work because they haven't been approved, they don't have insurance. They go back to the truck, fill out the application. 10 minutes later, they've got it in their inbox with a certificate, and now they can go to work. They didn't have us. They'd have to drive downtown to go to the broker. They'd have to wait eventually a week to get a policy in place. So, then they'd be stuck for that period of time. And so it's something that we're just making it so that they don't have to think about this stuff. Nobody really likes thinking about insurance, except for some of the insurance nerds in our shop. But we want people who are doing business to have the confidence that they're getting the right insurance at the best possible price. But then otherwise, you don't have to think about it that much. You just want to be able to go on and do the work that you do that is benefiting your customers, but also your family, obviously, and your own, livelihood.
No, that's great. I really appreciate that. Aside from, I guess, this automated machine learning backed platform that Foxquilt has, are there any other major disruptions that are shaping the industry right now?
I think that this embedded idea of working so directly with both, again, enterprises and the sort of agent, broker, wholesale networks in North America is a true differentiator for us. And it's a way that we're upending the sort of legacy world where insurance requirements or desire goes to a broker talks to a bunch of people in the market, and then, gets sent off to a reinsured capacity provider. And that whole cycle of it's not data driven and it takes a lot of time and it's very manual. It's very ripe for error or bias. I mean, that's where we're coming in. We're eliminating that bias because it's truly just based on the data. We're making it much better, and we're getting access to both. We're kind of in this middle layer where carriers are getting access to customers they wouldn't otherwise have, and customers are getting access to insurance they wouldn't otherwise have.
Yeah, so it's definitely just not a lack of I was thinking transparency, but it's not transparency, but it's really just, I think it's back to what I was saying. It's where people are getting educated and the access and are really connecting it what people are doing. So it's really cool in that sense and that ability, right? Because I do have people, even friends and family who are contractors, right? It's always interesting with insurance. So I guess thinking about that and the offering that you have, what does the future of automated insurance look like now?
We want to keep obviously growing. We're only scratching the surface here in North America in terms of what we can do for the customers that we have. We certainly have ambitions that could go beyond North America. There's insurance all over the world, obviously, and we can bring our technology again without sort of bias or a sort of agnostic platform. We can bring that anywhere we want to go. We can bring a distribution strategy like that. anywhere where you want. And the other kind of key thing we have on our roadmap is to broaden our sort of vertical into the more professional services space. Think about accountants, doctors, lawyers, dentists who are, again, sole proprietors or working with a small office, a small team. And they have a need for potentially general liability insurance, but also errors and omissions insurance is a big thing. But again, you're talking about professions that are typically parts of larger associations. So you've got that distribution strategy that can work in there. And then the insurance product that we're developing now that can become, again, a really fit for purpose insurance product that meet the exact requirements of what these professionals need.
Oh, that's great. So I guess when thinking about your roadmap, the strategies that you're going through, whether it's expanding across North America or hitting different verticals, like what are the challenges that face you and the leadership team as you move forward?
Well, these aren't new probably for many of your listeners, but it's a very Canadian sort of venture startup company. So access to capital is huge. It's always challenging for us in our environment right now. And so we're constantly looking for capital providers that really see the benefit and the value in what we're doing and believe in that vision that sort of supports the small business community across North America. And then it comes down to talent again, which is sort of tied into capital, but bringing our founders, Mark and Quinn, they're from the GTA and they're very educated and they really want to keep the talent in Canada. That's part of what they built this business to do, is to really try and give opportunity to young Canadians who are building their skills, whether it's in technology or insurance or sales. And so that's, we're constantly looking for, as we grow, we're going to be looking for more people and trying to find them locally as best we can.
No, that's amazing. Appreciate that. I guess, Scott, just thinking about future visions, can you share the future vision, whether it's, thinking about yourself, maybe the founders, what is the future that they're building or you guys are building together?
Yeah, it's that connected insurance piece where kind of get win-win-win all the way around, where carriers are winning, the customers are winning, and our different partners are winning. And we're just that middle layer that sort of reduces friction in the whole system and allows data to create a better overall system. And you're sort of expanding the pie on the one hand, but then you're also making sure that it's a more kind of fair distribution.
So when we realize this vision that Fox Quilt is creating in terms of this more connected network, like what does that mean, I guess, the entrepreneurs, the contractors, or even those around them?
Well, so insurance is the whole premise of insurance from hundreds of years ago is shared risk, right? So the key is that the more risk, the more good risk, especially that we can sort of aggregate and as a whole insurance industry, the more kind of positively we can support businesses all over, the better the whole insurance world performs, the better the world that has the risks managed in that way. So we're trying to be a piece of that puzzle by, again, bringing in good businesses that have a really strong presence in their own home market and allow them to, do their business well and expand that pie and expand the sort of risk sharing across the whole network.
That's great. I got a question, and maybe Paul might have a question for you, but I guess my last question when it comes to that vision, I'm curious when it comes to the offering and this connected network, who are the big players in your space that are doing what you're doing, whether they're playing catch up or you're defining that category now?
The truth is no one's doing what we're doing with the embedded insurance across North America. We're the only one doing it on both sides of the border. We often get compared as far as by our customers in terms of they're getting multiple quotes. They might be getting a quote from Next Insurance, which is a US-based company. They're only in the US. They've raised $1 billion. They're an order of magnitude larger than we are. They have a broader spectrum of offerings. We're much more focused on these very specific verticals that I mentioned and the products. We're continuing to expand our products and our verticals. We're chasing them in that sense. In terms of our focus, this is where we're at right now. And that's where we really want to, penetrate that market much more deeply as we continue to grow.
Just wondering what the contractors or the people that have this easier access to insurance and at lower cost, what do you see yourselves changing the face of small business? Is there something that you're aiming to shift there?
for now, we're focused on the insurance aspect of it. I mean, there's lots of examples of ways that we could add more value from an overall business perspective. So if we could help businesses understand their risks better, understand where they fit in their specific market. I mean, a drywaller in Florida is very different than a drywaller in Ohio from a risk perspective and from the type of environment that they live in and work in. So there's ways that we could certainly add additional value. I mean, we're not necessarily trying to compete in sort of the other finance, small business landscape. There's lots of really good incumbents there, but you could imagine a world where some of those value adds might be part of an offering in the future.
Scott, do you have any final thoughts, recommendations, or advice for the business leader, executive, or founders who may be listening today?
Yeah, I think, I think about this from a Canadian sort of market lens. And Foxquilt is a great example of a company that really proved its product in Canada and got really good product market fit and traction in Canada. But Canadian market, as we know, is really not big enough to properly scale a business when you have big ambition and big vision. And so we always had the US in mind. We kind of built the product and the technology with the ability and the distribution strategy with the ability to go into the US and really do and had a really strong presence there as well. And really then, that's something honestly that we were told not to do on a number of occasions. We were asked to kind of stay in Canada, focus on the market here. You can make it different than this Canadian market. And, Mark will say all the time that he was always hyper focused on the mission that we had to be omni-channel, to be in all across North America. And so, rather than use the distractors and detractors to kind of hold you back, use them as motivation to pursue your mission. Just focus on what you really want to do.
That's amazing. I really appreciate that. Scott, thank you for joining us on the Business Leadership Podcast.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
That's it, Biz Leaders. Thanks for joining me on this special episode of the Business Leadership Podcast, part of our Future Narrative mini-series recorded at the Collision Conference. It was an insightful conversation with Scott Bosson, exploring how Foxquilt is revolutionizing insurance provisioning for small businesses. For links to all the resources we discussed, to connect with Scott, and to learn more about the Future Narrative project, check the show notes in the app that you're listening to right now. If you're also interested in reading more about Scott and the other business leaders we profiled at Collision, join the waitlist for our upcoming book. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe, rate, and share it with the first person who comes to mind that would benefit, and most importantly, be grateful from hearing from you. Your support helps us grow and bring more great content. Thanks again for tuning in and being a part of our community. Until next time, have a 100x day.